The opulent corridors whisper, not with joy, but with the rustle of heavy brocade and the muted tread of slippered feet. Shadows lengthen, swallowing the gilded carvings, making gargoyles leer and painted roses bleed into the gloom. Listen. Can you hear it? The faint, ceaseless hum of 1,000 eyes watching, 1,000 hearts scheming in the silence. She was called Sultana, sovereign. But no one knew that beneath the brocade and gold lay an abyss. And no one should have heard what I will tell you now. Her hand, slender and adorned with emeralds, trembled as it lifted the jeweled cup of sherbet. A flicker, barely discernible, yet enough for one who truly watches. Do you see it, this tremor? It betrayed the turmoil beneath the serene mask she wore for the court. Her gaze, usually commanding, darted towards the ornate door, then back to the sweet, blood-red liquid. Not the fear of a child, but the cold, calculating dread of a woman who understood the language of poison and privilege. The air itself was thick with unspoken threats. Observe the fleeting faces of the courtiers, gathered like vultures around a precious feast. Each smile a lie, each bow a potential dagger. The candlelight, dancing on their jewels and silks, cast grotesque shadows that writhed and twisted, mirroring the loyalties that shifted with every breath. This dynasty, built on conquest and iron will, was now a fragile cage of gold, its bars pressing down on her very soul. She was the jewel, yes, the desired prize, but also the pawn. Every decision, a gamble. Every alliance, a potential betrayal. The weight of her bloodline, her lineage, was not a crown, but a chain. A golden chain, yes, but no less binding. She knew it, you see. That within these walls, the softest silk could hide the sharpest blade, and the sweetest smile, the deadliest intent. Her survival, and that of her children, hung by threads thinner than a spider's web, woven by ambition and stained with the ghosts of those who had failed. This is not merely a tale spun for your amusement. This is a secret, a confession, overheard by accident in the hushed, dangerous chambers of power. A truth whispered, now carried to you from behind this very pillar. And once you hear it, you too will carry the weight of its silence. The clamor of the court, the hurried whispers of decree, they fade now, like distant echoes swallowed by the vast stone halls. Here, within these inner sanctums, the air thickens, heavy with the perfume of jasmine and the unspoken weight of centuries. Look closer, beyond the shimmer of gold and the gleam of polished marble. Do you imagine freedom in such splendor? A fool's fancy, I assure you. This is where the gilded cage truly takes shape, where the golden chains are not forged in iron, but spun from the very threads of luxury. Her garments, woven from the finest silk known to man, caress her skin with a deceptive softness. Yet, each shimmering thread is a testament, spun not merely from a silkworm's delicate labor, but from the raw ambition of 1,000 hopeful souls, and the chilling fear of those who failed. The weight of her tiara, each stone a universe unto itself, presses upon her brow. But every diamond, every emerald, every ruby, brilliant and cold, is a crystallized tear, perhaps from a forgotten rival, a fallen mother, a child whose fate was sealed by a single, ruthless decree. For a sultana, every fragment of her adornment, every rich tapestry that lines her walls, is paid for not with mere coin, but with the profound suffering of others. Her life, you see, is not a life lived, but a game played. A grand, silent satrance, enacted on a board whose squares are the very floors of this palace, and whose pieces are the men and women who orbit her. Every move carries the weight of a dynasty, a fragile construct built on loyalty and terror. This sacred bloodline that grants her privilege, it also binds her tighter than any physical chain. It is a blessing, yes, whispered by generations of ancestors, but it is also a curse, tethering her to a destiny not entirely her own, demanding sacrifices no ordinary woman could fathom. The air, perfumed by exotic blossoms, can just as easily carry the faint, metallic tang of poison. A cup offered with a smile, a whispered word of loyalty. These are the currency of betrayal in this world. The shadows dance in the corners of her opulent chambers, not merely from the flickering oil lamps, but from the specters of those who failed to navigate this treacherous game. And the silence, the silence. It is not peace, it is the heavy hush that falls after a swift, decisive act, absorbing screams, stifling whispers, and guarding secrets too terrible to utter. For all the attendants, for all the bowing heads, the Sultana walks a path utterly alone. Her choices, made in the lonely confines of her gilded prison, are not merely personal whims. They are the calculated thrusts and parries of a monarch, safeguarding a legacy, ensuring survival. This is the true price of the throne, the glitter and the gore entwined, the relentless, shimmering beauty of her golden chains. The air in the women's chambers, usually thick with jasmine and the hushed rhythm of daily life, felt different tonight. Stifling. Every rustle of silk, every distant chime of a bell seemed magnified, echoing with an unspoken tension. I stood there, unseen, a shadow amongst shadows, behind the intricate latticework that guarded the secrets of this gilded cage. Do you feel it, this subtle shift? This creeping awareness that the very ground beneath their elegant slippers might be honeycombed with unseen chasms. She sat, as ever, a queen upon her silken cushions, her posture immaculate, yet the tremor in her fingers, barely perceptible as she reached for a cluster of plump, purple grapes, betrayed the constant hum beneath her regal composure. It was not fear, not in the vulgar sense, but the ceaseless vigilance of a predator, refined over decades of survival. Her magnificent robes, embroidered with threads of liquid gold, were not a comfort. They were a heavy mantle, beautiful and suffocating, a constant reminder of the prize and the peril. Then she appeared. A servant girl, no more than 16 summers, her face an unreadable tableau, eyes downcast, a silver tray held steady in hands that trembled ever so slightly. Upon it, a single, glistening cup of sherbet, rose perhaps, or blood-red pomegranate, sweet, cooling, a promised balm in the oppressive heat of the palace. Yet here, it felt like a chalice offered by the fates themselves. The girl presented it with a bow, her smile a fragile, practiced thing. Too wide, too bright, a mask woven from youthful innocence and something far older, far more calculating. The Sultana's gaze, sharp and unblinking as a falcon's, swept over the girl's face, lingered on the forced curve of her lips, then dropped to the cup. This was the moment. The exquisite, deadly dance of politeness and suspicion. Every breath held, every muscle taut in the room. One sip, one careless gesture, and a dynasty could falter, a legacy crumble to dust. Her gaze scanned every shadow, every face, every seam in the silken tapestries. For anyone, even the most trusted confidant, even the child who called her mother, could be an instrument. No one was truly good, no one irrevocably evil, only survivors. Only players in a game where the rules were carved in blood, and the objective was simply to see another dawn. The girl's hand, in setting down the tray, brushed with an almost choreographed clumsiness against a small, ornate, lacquered box that lay open beside the Sultana, its lid inlaid with mother-of-pearl. A swift, almost imperceptible movement. A packet, no larger than a thumb, folded tight, slipped from the girl's palm, falling into the box, nestling amongst forgotten strands of pearl and tangled emeralds. The faintest whisper of paper against velvet. Did anyone else see it? The Sultana did. Her eyes, those ancient pools of wisdom and weariness, missed nothing. A flicker of understanding, a tightening in the jaw, imperceptible to any but the most seasoned observer. Later, when the chamber was emptied, when the last servant had melted away into the labyrinthine corridors, a silence descended, profound and absolute. Only the distant call of a lonely nightingale dared to break it. The Sultana's hand, slow and deliberate, moved towards the box. Her fingers, adorned with the weight of centuries of power, closed around the small packet. It was sealed, but clumsily. A hurried hand, a nervous moment, betrayed the messenger's inexperience. She broke the seal. The brittle wax snapped, a sound like a small bone breaking in the profound quiet, echoing the unseen violence that underpinned this world. Scraps of a secret letter, hastily folded and refolded, revealed themselves. Words, fragmented and sharp, leaped out from the parchment, written in a hand she knew all too well. A new dawn, the Grand Vizier's favor, the prince's weakness, secured allegiance. Her jaw tightened further. The bloodline, always the bloodline. The relentless, suffocating need to secure one's place, to elevate one's son, to crush all rivals. Even those who once shared the same cradle, whispered the same prayers. This was the true currency of power in these gilded cages. Betrayal, not a choice, but a necessity. She did not rage, she did not weep. Such raw emotions were luxuries she could not afford, weaknesses that would be exploited. Instead, a cold, calculating resolve settled upon her features, sharpening the angles of her face. The broken seal lay like a shattered promise. The fragments of the letter, damning evidence that now formed the foundation of her next move. The sherbet, untouched, still glimmered ominously on the silver tray, a silent, beautiful testament to the sweet poisons that flowed through the very veins of this palace, promising death to one, and a fleeting, desperate moment of power to another. Here, my dear ladies, every step was a trap laid by unseen hands, every whispered word a dagger honed in the darkness of the night. And betrayal. Betrayal was not a sin to be confessed. It was simply the most potent currency in a realm built on shifting sands and shattered loyalties. A coin exchanged in silence, beneath the deceptive sheen of rose-scented sherbet, deciding who would rise and who would be swallowed by the ever-hungry shadows of the dynasty. The game, my dear ladies, had only just begun. And the stakes? The very soul of an empire, and the crushing loneliness of wearing a crown. The triumphant whispers, once a clamor within these gilded walls, have settled. Not into peace, but into a silence far more profound, far more menacing than any battle cry. You feel it, don't you? This sudden, heavy stillness that presses down, sealing the air. The storm of ambition, the clash of wills, has passed, leaving behind only the cold, unyielding aftermath. She stands now, a solitary figure amidst the lavish silks and polished marble of her chambers. Every jewel, every intricate pattern seems to mock the stark simplicity of her solitude. Her hand, which just moments ago commanded armies of courtiers and sealed fates, now falls slack. A scrap of crimson silk, a fleeting splash of defiance, slips from her grasp, landing softly on the cool floor. It lies there, forgotten, unretrieved. A trivial thing, yet in its stillness, a profound statement. There is no one here to pick it up, no one to tend to the small, fragile things when the great wars are won. She moves towards the mirror, its surface vast and unforgiving. It reflects not the victor proclaimed in the halls, but a woman whose eyes carry the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights. Tired, yes, but unbroken. A queen, forged in the crucible of a ruthless dynasty. But look closer, beyond the crown. You see the deep isolation, the impenetrable shadow she casts, even upon those whose bloodline she fought to protect. This is the true cost, isn't it? The victory, hard won, tastes of ash in the mouth of power. For in this profound solitude, who truly shares the burden? Who celebrates without envy, without harboring the seed of betrayal? The threat of poison, once a distant fear, now feels like a whisper in every shadow, a potential truth behind every silence. She is a magnificent piece in a cruel, intricate mechanism, condemned to an eternal, lonely vigilance. To rule is to stand perpetually alone. The silence in these halls is a heavy shroud tonight, is it not? A stillness born not of peace, but of a battle finally won. Or so it seems. She stands, perhaps, upon the precipice of her ambition, the throne within reach, the rivals silenced. But look closely, beyond the triumph's blinding glare. Can you not see the phantom scars etched upon her soul? The weight of the crown, heavier than any physical burden, pressing down, crushing the very essence of who she once was. The silk she wears, once a symbol of ascent, now feels like a binding. The very air she breathes, thick with the lingering scent of betrayal, the faint, bitter hint of poison that permeates these chambers. For what is a victory when the bloodline demands such a price? A victory secured in the dark, paid for in the currency of souls. Her name, yes, will be etched into the gilded annals of this dynasty. A name spoken with reverence, or perhaps with a shiver of fear that echoes down through generations. But her tears? Her silent, trembling fears, whispered only to the cold, unyielding stone walls that have witnessed countless such struggles? These will be lost, consumed by the very shadow she cast to secure her place. Only the stark, undeniable truth remains, the weight of the golden chains. They glitter, these chains, blinding the world to the true nature of her prison. Look now, as the camera pulls away. See the vast domains that bow before her? They are not an empire to command, but a gilded cage, built of ambition, of sacrifice, and of desperate, unyielding will. Such is the fate of those who dare to play this ruthless game for the throne, a game where every move is a gamble with one's own humanity. This is the cruel irony, my dear. Not an end, but merely a single, arduous turn in the relentless wheel of fate. For every sunset of power, every hard-won victory is merely a prelude to a new dawn of struggle. The game never truly ends. It only awaits its next player, its next victim to inherit the crown, and its accompanying, suffocating isolation.